What's going on, guys? Sly here, and thanks for checking out another Mass Effect video. Now, for those who haven't seen it yet, BioWare has revealed another Initiate training video, and this time we get a first in-depth look at the Tempest, and a smaller look at the Mako's replacement, the Nomad. More so than that, our Solarian pilot finally has a full name.
I'm Jath, and this is the Tempest.
And if you want to see all of this for yourself, head on over to MassEffect.com and check it out. The link is in the description box below, so give that a watch, then head back on over this way when you're done. I'll go ahead and, I'll wait for you. Just make sure you press pause. Anyways, guys, I just wanted to do a quick review and a thorough look over each area. The Normandy was instrumental in telling the story of the previous games, and I'm sure the Tempest will have much of the same role. It's some awfully big shoes to fill, but BioWare has had some time to get this right, and so far, it seems like a leaner Tempest isn't necessarily a lesser one. So let's start it up, y'all. Now, as you can see here, this is the intro to another trailer we've recently seen. The NVIDIA keynote trailer at CES had this exact same intro. This one is a little longer, and instead of barely seeing the Nexus in the background, we get a full view of it here. So as you can see, it is still incomplete. Looking at other parts of the Andromeda training videos, we can see that the Nexus comes into the new galaxy less than 50% complete. Basically, only one of the long holes are complete, as you can see here. It doesn't have the docking bays for the arcs or even the ring that connects the two holes together. So it's pretty safe to assume that the Nexus will be a work in progress throughout much of the game. So this could be what the Nexus percentage is here on the top right. And just like Dragon Age Inquisition, when you call all of your associates to the keep to choose upgrades to certain areas or expand your influence doing small side missions, perhaps this is the same way the Nexus gets built. The more we explore, the more we grow, the more things we can unlock on the Nexus as well. And with that, it actually physically gets built. Just a thought, and total speculation on my part, but knowing BioWare, it totally fits the bill. So starting off, we see the graceful Tempest swooping by some asteroids, and this is where Jath, the Pathfinder's Solarian pilot, starts narrating the video. He starts off by saying that he's been a pilot since the early prototype days, and also confirms that the Tempest does not have a main gun or any kind of heavy armor plating. It relies instead on stealth and speed. A mere 13 light years per day. No big deal. But anyways, our first look here is of the research lab. With the rounded walls and the high ceilings, it's easy to tell that this is the middle part of the ship. Reminds me of the war room in Mass Effect 3. Round table with multiple computers, you can tell this is also some kind of collaboration room. You can see a door on the main floor behind it, which I'm assuming leads to the garage, crew's quarters, another area you'll see here soon. Now this right here is the area where research goes into weapons, armor, and even configurations of the Nomad Scout rover. It goes to say that this is all discovered by the tech and bio labs aboard, which you can see right here. It's kind of off to see hydroponics on board. But if you really think about it, this Mass Effect game isn't about war. Not really. This Mass Effect is about exploration, discovery, and finding a new home for humanity. And in such, plant diversity and characteristics would be an essential part of finding a home for us. Imagine we found a world that has tons of water. It has an oxygen-nitrogen-rich atmosphere, and it's a world rich with plants and animals that could support life as we know it. But once we set up shop, we find out that 10 times a year, they pour out toxic pollen that kills us upon inhalation. Or maybe they have toxic flowers that contaminate the water a few times a year. Toxic roots. All of these unknowns are exactly why biolabs would be just as big as any other space in the ship. Moving it along here, it shows the very top of the ship, the conference or meeting room. Here, the crew gathers to discuss missions, or you can connect to the Nexus from this area. Now notice the round table and this kind of circular neon light above it. You can tell that this area is right above the R&D Labs, which is the image we just seen before. You can see the ring above. You can also see the wall of windows. With no other place to go upwards, this has to be the very top of the ship. And if we look right here, you can see these exact windows. It confirms that this is indeed the very top, and both of these spaces are connected. As the video progresses, it says that below we have engineering, the armory, med bay, and a garage. Now, while they all might be below deck, I think they're on different levels, as I'll explain here in a second. So here we get a peek at engineering, and this is completely different from the Normandy. The last drive core was walled off by thick, energy-absorbing walls. You couldn't really get into this space, but in this ship, it's out in the complete open. Me and the Codex are going to have a few words. After engineering, they show a quick glimpse of the Armory, but to me it seems like this is more of a corner than an actual room. There are a few other views that we'll get to here in a minute. Next, a quick view of the medbay Chakwas would be proud of. It feels more high-tech than previous medbays, and even though it is smaller, it has a distinct feel. You know, something new, which is very good. And finally, here is the garage or hangar, whatever you like to call it, and there was a lot to see in this space. The Nomad sits in the middle, and directly ahead is the ramp that leads to the outside, as you can see in this clip. Notice a small ramp to the left, which could be the Armory. And notice that there is an entire level above this garage. I think all of this is considered below deck, even though there are multiple levels. So that must mean the medbay is up here somewhere and engineering is probably at the very back of the ship. Since the cargo door that lets the Nomad out is kind of, in the middle of the ship or the ship center, that leaves a lot of area left over behind all of this. So this area could be pretty big. Well, before we go further, what the heck is this? Now, I've been trying to brainstorm what this could be. This thing off to the right here, it kind of looks like a speeder from Star Wars. Maybe a deployable submarine, some kind of drone. I have no idea, but any of those would be freaking awesome. Alright, well, let's keep going, guys. Next up, we see some of the crew quarters, with 4 beds and some seats. Try squeezing Drock in there, right? I mean, do Krogans even sleep? Anyways, this picture, keep this in mind because I'm going to bring it up a little later. Moving along here, the galley is up next, and this could all be below deck as well, on the top level of the garage. Once again, I don't know for sure, but it does make sense. Finally, here is what we all really wanted to see, the Pathfinder's quarters, and look at the size of this room, guys. Full panoramic view of space with the bed on the left, a kind of galaxy-style map and interface at the very center of the room, and then a lounge area on the right-hand side. Here is another view of it, and you can see that there's a desk on the left as probably where we're going to have our personal terminal, as well as our luxurious trophy collection. So let's look at this again. Luxurious Pathfinder's quarters, where 1 person sleeps. Crew quarters, where 20 people sleep. Big, small. I just thought that was kind of funny. Alright, so next, here is a big area we're going to be spending a lot of time in, the bridge, where our Solarian pilot navigates, and from what I've seen on comments from devs, the other seat is for the science officer. In the middle, though, this is our new galaxy map. A holographic interface pops up and we choose our destination. As we select it, we can watch the window go from a deep, dark nothingness of interplanetary space to boom, a massive planet slowly growing in size right in front of us, in real time. Now, each planet will look different and each approach will be unique. This is something I am really looking forward to. While I didn't mind the old-style galaxy maps, this approach really appeals to me. Now, if you look at the top of the screen, you can see this glass-like material lining the ceiling and that white light at the very front. This just screams out hologram to me, and if you played the trilogy, I bet you guys are getting the same vibe. Next, we see another piece from the CES trailer. We break the atmosphere, the heat shield takes effect, and we see ourselves landing on a desert planet. Presumably Aladdin, but I don't know that for sure. And with that ends the tour of the Tempest. And now, before we start that, I wanted to show you guys a couple quick things I found online. If you look at this is a scale of the Tempest. You can see the Normandy up top and the Tempest below. Look at the size difference, guys. They're squeezing all of that into this ship. Also, you can take a look at this image here, and it shows the layout of the ship. You can try to piece that with everything else we just went over to try to get a full picture of the ship itself. Alright, so on to the Nomad Scout Rover. Now, while there isn't too much here that we didn't already know, they talk about 4 or 6 wheel drive, twin hydrogen-oxygen fuel cells, and an independent suspension for each wheel. You know, the Solarian pilot sounds like he's having a wet dream when he talks about it, but as we've seen before, there is a boost, but something we haven't seen yet, vertical freaking boost. My dreams are now complete. What an awesome nudge to the old Mako, right? I was really hoping for something like that in there. Next, we see some Nomad upgrades, and one thing that stands out immediately, Shield Blast. Now, they said that there weren't any guns on the vehicle, but there is an offensive capability. It's kind of hard to read, but it says right here, Shield Blast. When the Nomad has lost its shields in a last attempt to preserve integrity, the shield-powered cells will discharge, causing an area of effect shockwave that will send nearby enemies flying. So while there aren't any offensive capabilities directly, there is something there to help you in combat. Now, this is the first we've heard of this, so I wonder if it's something we can trigger ourselves, or if it can only happen when taking damage. Next, we see some Nomad style, a few different paint configurations, which I have to say are definitely a big improvement over the traditional all-white plastic look that it has normally. And finally, we get another answer to scanning planets, mining drones. As you can see here, the Nomad has its own radar which can find resources on whatever planet you're on. Once you have found an area, deployable mining drones extract the minerals by itself and off you go. So instead of firing it from a ship like in the trilogy, this time we have to physically find and drop off drones to mine the mineral, which is a new bit of information that we've been wanting to know for quite some time now. After this, we hear a send-off from our pilot with some nostalgic music in the background, and that ends the video, which makes me freaking wish it was already March. You know, these things get me so hyped for Andromeda, I almost hate watching them over and over again. But it's all good, and guys, that is all I got. Like I said, watch the entire thing in the description box below. It's on the Mass Effect website, and see if you can pick out anything that I missed. But that's it for me, guys. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and if you want to stay in touch and up to date with everything Mass Effect, Destiny, The Division, follow me on Twitter @SlyNation, or subscribe to me here on YouTube. Keep an eye out for more videos coming out of Sly Nation here real soon, but until then, this is your boy Sly. See you guys.